There's a place, a school, an institution where a professor resides. One that for the past 30 years has traveled the world teaching others. A pioneer in America of the fighting science of Savate. One who codified the sports of this fighting style. One who has produced clubs, champions, and continues to develop. Listen to
Hey guys, it's a great Monday. I'm glad you guys are with us. We're doing another Monday's questions and viewpoints. And we've been doing this now for over 40 weeks or 40 Mondays. And it's been doing great. It's great, actually. It's kind of interesting to see all the different questions. My son and I go over them and decipher which ones we put as tactic Thursday and which ones we keep as like historical and stuff like that. But you know that USA Savate has been around since 1996. It's a nonprofit. It's a 501c3. It's underneath the Department of Licensing Regulations in Texas, which is a boxing commission. A lot of people want to confuse USA Savate with the Texas Association of Savate, like the French have for so many years. But they're totally two different entities. The Texas Association of Savate deals with educational elements of the sport, while USA Savate deals with youth programs as well as competitions. And it's divided into several other things after that. You know, the World Pugilist Hall of Fame is part of USA Savate. You have another committee, which is Suavos Capoeira, which is out there to help kids with capoeira and the supporting arts. So it kind of expanded, you know, it's also expanded into Box Francés for kids. There's a lot of programs out there that we continue pushing forward. You know, the Gentlemen's Stick Fighting Coalitions, which has several fights. We have a fight coming up, but we have the Texas Championships in September. But the question was asked, which has been the event of Box Francés Savate, sport, Box Francés Savate, the event that you helped produce and has been the most fruitful one? Geez, you know, we've had way so many different events. We've had way too many bouts. We had 5 border rumbles. We had 4 U.S. nationals. We had 4 Metro Blasts, 5 Texas championships, several other regionals and ASO championships of the U.S. We had plenty. I've been involved in many. We had a youth championship at one particular time. But the one that is the one that comes to mind, that we conquered many obstacles. We conquered not only obstacles, we conquered a lot of ground. And our athletes showed their training. It was the 4th border rumble. And the 4th border rumble, we had 4 countries involved. We had the United States, of course. We had France, Belgium, and Italy. We had 2 U.S. championships in that bout, and we had 2 French semifinalist championships in that bout as well. And the reason we held it at that time was because folks in Texas had always seen pre-combat, you know, pre-combat level of Savate, which is helmets and gear and going inside, similar to amateur U.S. boxing. And we wanted to show them good quality French elite championships to see if maybe we can get our guys going up there and, you know, kind of get that promotion and energy for Savate going forward. So we had that. That was the first time we did that. And this was in 2001. There was a lot of things that were going on with this event, and we prevailed. One thing folks need to understand about having an event, events, bouts, you can't do it from one weekend to the other. It doesn't happen. If you do that, you're going to get people hurt, probably an unsanctioned bout. There's a lot of things that go into that. Number one, the USA Savate was a governing body, but we still had to let the Department of Licensing Regulations know we're going to have bouts, just like the same thing that happens with USA Boxing. They can have bouts, they can sanction their own bouts, but the calendar has still to go forward to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations. Understand? They can come in and check anytime you want. Remember, it's safety. So this bout had started in 2000. We're in 2001. It had started 9 months before. Imagine that, 9 months before. And we had started it around September. Some of the board members of USA Savate at that time met with the city manager, who was Larry Dovalina at that time of the city of Laredo. We met with the Parks Department. We met with Mr. Horacio de Leon, who was the head at that time. He was made the head at that time. We met with the lady that was the director of the Parks and Rec, actually. Her name was Anita Stanley. We met with everybody to see if we can produce something to bring forward. You know, we already had the first three, and this one we wanted to make it bigger, bring more countries in, try to see if we can grow it out a little bit more, try to build out the money. Usually we'll rent the Civic Center out, and they'll rent it out for us for $3,200. That's just the way it was. To try to ease a little bit, we're bringing in a lot of people in. This came from the idea of the president at that time. And the president of USA Savate at that time was the Honorable Judge Ben Morales. Great man, great friend. May God keep him in a safe place. He passed away several years ago. He was a dear friend. He loved the sport. He used to say, I wish I was young for me to have done this, and he had dabbled in some boxing in college. And so he loved that competitiveness. And he was the president at the time. So we touched base with the French. We started underlining what we needed, and we started moving everything forward. We touched base with the Belgium at that time, and I remember I flew out because I'm an international delegate of the International Federation of Savate, and I flew out November to the elections of the International Federation at that time. The elections, I remember the president became Alice Walnier, which was Belgium, and he was still holding ground there. So it was the first time for a while that the president of the International Federation was not French, Belgium. And so we had a lot of working relationships with the Belgians. And we used to go and take a team over there several times. And they used to bring people down here many times to fight. And it was just a great exchange, as well as with the French. But what happened was in this thing, they wanted us to have it at the Farias Rec Center. Okay, it's a nice rec center. We're going to put bleachers and chairs and fix it up and have the ring, and everything was going honky-dory. A lot of students, a lot of boxers do not know what it takes. A lot of the fighters do not understand what it takes to do and promote an event. Okay. So we started selling advertisement. We started selling sponsorships because it costs money. You have to host people in hotels. You have to bring people in. A lot of people don't know that when a team comes over and it's amateur, you pay for the coach, which is flight. Okay, so we had an Italian, a Belgian, and a French coach's flights that we had to bring over. You also pay for room and board for the officials. Okay, you also pay room and board for the fighters, not their friends. So anyway, as this went on, it was a great event. Everything was coming in. On Thursday, the fight was supposed to be Friday night. Remember this, Friday night. On Wednesday, we start getting people coming in from France. The Italians were here. The Belgians came on Thursday. So I'm running around all over the place, and I get a call from Miss Stanley, and she says, "Sorry, you all cannot use the rec center. You cannot use the rec center because we have all the rec centers are under construction." But didn't you all know about this? Well, too bad. Click. Okay, that type of attitude. We had already had some run-ins with this individual before, and it was always a sabotaging of events that we had. The vice president was Richard Geisler. I said, you know what? Let's start talking to, the city council. Let's see what we can do. Some of the city council were telling us that there was no construction in the rec center, so there was none whatsoever, that the construction was going to start 60 days forward. So they were all bewildered of what was going on. Thursday went by. We're still trying to figure out what we're going to do, where we're going to have the events. The fighters are enthusiastic about fighting. You can't tell them, or you can't tell that to anybody. Guess what? We don't have a spike because all that energy is just going to fall down. It's going to crumble. Okay. The city of Laredo was going to pay for some of the hotels, was going to sponsor some of the hotels. And what happened? Again, they said that since we're not having the fight, we cannot sponsor it. Okay, this was, and then later on in time, we find out that these two directors, both female, and they're still there, just a bunch of ham and eggers. They were kind of doing it on their own. So we're talking to the councilman, we're talking to everybody. Well, how are we going to have the event? Can we have it at a park? Can we have it this? Can we do that? And this is going on behind us. And at the same time, I'm touching base with the president, which is Ben Morales. And all of a sudden, the French boxer David Touquet and his wife, then they come in there and they said, "Hey, we want to get married in Texas. Can we get married in Texas?" And we said, "Yeah." So they went to go get a marriage license and says, "You know what? That was our good excuse to move the event to Saturday." So everybody was content. We're going to have it on Saturday. So we killed the Friday. But also Friday, when we opened up the newspaper, it comes out the show has been canceled. We're getting calls everywhere. All the board members are pissed off because somebody called in over there. Later on, we find out that it came from the city's office. It was just unbelievable to think that a place that you're trying to help promote stuff and try to build a name for is causing all this havoc to go on. It's incredible. And to the day, they're still doing the same thing, believe me. What happens is that as this is moving forward, the bailiff of Ben Morales said, "How come we can't have it at a nightclub?" Oh yeah, why not? So we went and we talked to the owner of Grams. It was a nightclub at the time, the owner of Grams. And we said, "Do you think we can have it here?" He said, you can't have it at night, but I'm going to charge you, and the rent's going to be $1,500. Everybody said, "Take it." And I said, "And you can take the concessions. All the concessions are going to be yours, except the door. The door ends up going to us, but you can take all the drinks." So we spent that. We talked to some of the newspapers. We got some reporters. We started talking. We started doing, the collateral damage, try to save it. And it became one of the best attended events that we had. Imagine that. The energy of this came through. We had, on the fights, We had two of the semifinalists of the French semifinalists that were tremendous. David Touquet ends up getting married on the ring. A couple of pictures, and Honorable Judge Morales was a presiding judge. It was a first for Savate. My professor, Michel Gilbert, was there, and he just kind of, he was in awe at everything that was going on. He was the only one that understood everything that was happening in the background, him and Professor Buitrón, because they were with me running around trying to get everything together. They didn't know what was going on. We would have people take the fighters to the mall and downtown and everything else while we were over here running like mad hatters. We had two US versus France, two US versus Belgium, one Belgium versus Italy. We're supposed to have three Italians come in, but only one came. We had two Belgiums versus France. We had the two US championships. We had the two finalists. Our team came out great. Our team didn't lose. They did wonderful. I remember Patrick Gavin, he defeated the Belgian. David Silva, first time in Savate. He had done some amateur boxing with me. He had 3 wins in amateur boxing, and he went in there and he beat the Belgian champion, which was a tremendous bout. Tremendous bout. We get pictures right now. We had Jorge Garza, who was another fighter that would fight at that time of Savate, and he did tremendously well against the French. We had a dear student that passed away. His name was Alfonso. We used to call him Hershey Lopez, and he did tremendous against the Belgian. I mean, he outdid himself. And the two semifinalists were tremendous fights, and everybody was in awe to see the difference level between pre-combat and combat. It was just a fantastic event because we all endured a couple of things. One, when somebody's trying to bring you down and you're in for the good, you prevail. You understand? Even though, we learned another thing. We even though we had contracts and we could hold them all back, we had to understand what was going on in the political stream. So once politics gets involved, they're going to try to hinder you. That intimidation of what they did, whether it was or was not sent or whatnot. Because following that Monday and Tuesday, when we contacted the city manager, nobody knew anything of this had ever occurred. Okay? They said we could have used the space. They outright lied, even though we had calls and facts saying that we could not, even though the paper had their phone numbers who had called, from where they had called to cancel this event. They outright lied. And, those people continue causing havoc to a lot of organizations and us when we try to do something with the city. You start seeing that negativity shoot down from that one side. But, if it's for the youth, if it's for a purpose of truth, then we win. It was the 4th Border Rumble. Best show that we had, best attendance. The US did phenomenal. The energy of the fighters were tremendous. I was able to show my professor, Michel Gilbert, that what he had taught me on holding events and how to promote events, it was not a waste of time. We had a first marriage in the history of Savate in the ring, which was David Touquet. We had Congressman Henry Cuellar at that time, if I'm not mistaken, he was Secretary of State of Texas. He came out and he just basically, said some words, because he's always been behind USA Savate, even though he was one of the first ones that got us into the state, got us the meetings with the boxing commission, with at that time who passed away. Great man, great individual, was Commissioner Dickey Cole, and taught us tremendous a lot. You can learn a lot by negativity. You have to embrace it. You have to make it real. You have to fight with it. And once you understand that it's real, then you can overcome it. And that's what this particular bout taught us. As the years progressed, nobody really understood what was going on behind it. This is the first time that, the board member knew, but the fighters, they didn't know. They had no clue that issues of sabotage was implemented in a Savate match. Understand? But it's happened. It's continued to happen. It happened again in the third Texas Stakes Fighting Championship when we had a contract with the Parks and Rec. All of a sudden they come back and they said, "Oh, you all can use the same person, same individual." But like I said, they're just ham and eggers, and ham and eggers are worthless, especially if you buy them off a corner store. You might get the run, so stay away from ham and eggers. Here's someone to leave you with this. Always be positive. Always be calm. Always understand that no matter what pressure they put you, you can prevail. And sometimes if you're still and calm, you can understand one door closes and many others open. And that's what happened here with this event. The city closed the doors on us, and other doors were opened onto us, and we made great friends, and we still maintain those partnerships throughout. But a couple of people that we miss, we miss Judge Ben Morales, may you rest in peace, and our saboteur, Adolfo Lopez, may God keep you in peace as well. We'll leave you with that. Remember, keep on asking questions, subscribe, press the like button. There's more to come. There's other questions out there. And this one was particular because it really touched heart, because this event gave the backbone to USA Savate that we were not going to be messed with. We're here to stay. And you're going to confront us, we're going to confront you back. And it's been that way. Unfortunately, the wars started. Iraq and Afghanistan were already up and running. And it removed a lot of competitors. But now with the new committee of the Gentleman Stick Fighting Committee, the Gentleman Stick Fighting Coalition, it has sparked new growth for competition, where you can see youth, and which is a stick fighting based on Khan, to open to all styles, which we have great folks coming in as well. Great fellowship. Folks, until next time, much peace.
Kept secret of Laredo. Buitron Academy, 956-401-4868. Savate.biz.